Good morning, Barry Bryson here. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. We just want to remind ourselves of some of the things we learned in the book of Ecclesiastes during our study, and I'm not going to be going back and reading long passages or reading very many passages at all. I just want us to remember the book of Ecclesiastes is woven together as a piece of whole cloth, and you really can't start pulling a thread without pulling it apart. You have to read it and you have to experience it. But there's just some things that we started to learn. I think the first thing I want us to notice, and this encompasses the whole book, if all we have is what's under the sun, then everything that he says about humanity, about how bad things are, how random things seem to be, how unfair it is, everything that he has to say is absolutely true. Everything he has to say is true. The world is this bad if there is no eternity, if there is no judgment, if there's nothing beyond. Now, if everything we have is just what's here under the sun, his conclusion still holds. We should fear God and keep his commandments because God is God and we are not God. We are humans. We're so small. God can judge us at any time, and it is the one thing we ought to be doing anyway. But of course, we're not left with just what's under the sun because by the end, it is irrepressible. Eternity is a fact that we have to deal with, and that it is the fact. What's here under the sun is meaningless, short, brief, nothing. What he said at the very beginning, but it's not what we're left with because it's just the prelude to what we're to who we're going to be for eternity. So that's the big lesson. There's a sense in which the thing that he said at the very beginning is absolutely true at the very end, but it doesn't mean the same thing. So there's that. There are some of the things that he learned along the way. Two are better than one, all the way back to chapter 4. Building relationships, doing your best for its own sake, chapter 9, enjoying multiple times. I think he repeats this 4 or 5 times. Enjoying the blessings that God gives you in the moment that you have them to enjoy them, whether it's life with your spouse, whether it's just the work that you do, getting to sleep at night, having a meal, or being young. Enjoy those gifts as you have them because they're not yours to keep. They're temporary, but they are from God. They're gifts from God. And so while you're here, enjoy them as gifts from God. Share. Chapter 11, you have to share. You have to take the resources that you've been given and invest them in others, and that's going to come back to you in exponential blessing. That there is order beyond the randomness. That chapter 3, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. And beyond that, if you just read on beyond that beautiful, beautiful poem, there is eternity. And God's put the awareness of it in our hearts. We can't have it apart from him, but he has given us the awareness of it so that we know there's something beyond us. There's something beyond this universe. Those are some of the preliminary positive lessons that we learned. The negative lessons, you can't expect things to be fair here, because they're not going to be. Chapter 9, the race is not to the swift, battle to the strong, or bread to men of wisdom. Time and chance happen to them all. Chance not being fate, but just the randomness of things from day to day. So you cannot expect things to be fair here in this sinful world. Things do not always work out the way they're supposed to. The things that you think will satisfy don't. Chapter 2. I tried everything, and it was, but to what point? It didn't gain me anything. None of it was satisfying. He tried pleasure. He tried accomplishment. He tried acquiring things. He tried making a name for himself. He tried everything, fame, fortune, power. He exercised it all, and none of it was meaningful to him at all. Not really even past the moment that he experienced it, or even during the moment in which he experienced it. And so there's that lesson. There's just so much necessary wisdom in this book. It is just so clear-eyed about who humans are in this sinful world, and about the way our institutions work in this sinful world, and about the way history unfolds in this sinful world, and how even in the midst of it, there are lessons to learn that are meaningful, and there are moments to enjoy that are precious because they're from God. And then there's eternity. So that when he says at the beginning, everything is really kind of nothing, that's true. But not in a desperate way, but in a way that understands that our time here is completely meaningful in terms of determining where we spend eternity. But it's such a minuscule part of our existence. It's such a small bubble in the sum total of our existence, because that which is in us, the Spirit, which returns to God who gave it, that's eternal. Okay. Well, that's what I wanted us to think about today before we left the book of Ecclesiastes and turned forward to the pages of the New Testament. We're going to start a study of 1st and 2nd Peter, and we'll start by introducing the two books together next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.